Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Oh, hello there, and welcome to you. For the gray day in Pittsburgh, PA. Oh dear, where to start? A lot of things going on in my head. Remember when you first heard about spotted lanternflies? Just going to start easy here. Right? It was about a year or two ago. Year ago, maybe. And it was just one of those cases where you hear invasive species came from China. All of a sudden, oh my God, attacks trees, kill them. And it was like it was just another one of those things that can create initial true anxiety. And I had never seen one of these come with that clear indication that you had a responsibility to stomp on them. Just kill the suckers. Anytime you see them, you kill them. And I don't like killing anything. I don't like killing bugs. I don't like squashing things. So I lived in terror of encountering my first. And I did have friends who said, oh my God, I've got spotted lanternflies all over. They're on my trees. I don't know what to do. You can't kill enough of them fast enough. And then finally, I have to say that I've seen them. One landed on me the other day while I was sitting outside. First of all, the first thing I want to say is they're so beautiful. Insects generally don't strike me as beautiful. These guys are beautiful. And as hard as it is, to kill an insect, killing a beauty like these guys. Also, they don't bite you. Whatever. I don't like any bug landing. There was one in my hair the other day. But here's what I can tell right now, because it wasn't that long ago that I first heard of their existence, and then started seeing these alarming things about kill them. And now here they are, sort of like the stink bug thing that happened to us, right? And I just want to say this. Wow, that was fast, because they're swarming all over there are people who can't even sit in their yards anymore. They've taken over decks and sometimes you see cars covered. They're everywhere. I was walking my dog the other day and saw that somebody had put like double-sided tape around a tree, a big old tree, I suppose, trying to protect it. And damn, that tape was absolutely covered. There was no room for it with spotted lanternflies. I've since learned that's not a good thing to do. When I saw it, I thought, oh, I should do that. And then I thought, do not do that. And I've seen also online, spray them with this, do that, blah, blah, blah. Don't. You're killing, generally speaking, all of these things kill insects you don't want to kill. They can hurt birds. They can hurt animals that might, critters that go up and down trees. So don't do that. But I guess we're just gonna, I don't know. I'm hoping they go the way of the stink bug. They're going to move on. all these things seem to come from the east and then or the south, and then they move. And I'm hoping. Now, there was this article in the Tribune Review today by our old friend Ryan Dito, and he gives me information that I have not seen. All of a sudden, after all that, kill them, where you thought this is akin to, West Nile fever and, Ebola. All of a sudden, we're being told that they are, here, I'm quoting someone in the know, they are a nuisance, but they are not a catastrophic hazard. Well, then what was all that caterwauling about when we first learned of them that scared the bejeebers out of us? What else did I find here that I just, anyway, they say increased lanternfly population shouldn't raise alarms. They pose no danger to humans. They're not poisonous. Yes, they eat vegetation, and they can really do damage to grapevines and apple trees, okay? But generally speaking, they're not going to decimate your trees. They could weaken them and possibly some would die. But it's not it's like there's all these other things, these emerald ash borers and all these other critters that are going after. And they don't tell us to stomp on them. Oh, and the other thing I found out is that if you got a lot of them, they do eat, they put out, secrete, I was looking for the word, secrete, a waste substance called honeydew. It's sugary, and it attracts, any sugar does, it attracts other insects like bees, and sometimes the honeydew becomes actually a bigger problem than the lanternflies themselves, because that can get all over your outdoor furniture and then attract some kind of fungus. Welcome to nature. I just want to say, why did they alarm us so much initially? Why did they think? It's sort of like when COVID started, some of the advice we were given was just so bullshit. When it was nuts, which we later found out. But what I gleaned from the information that was coming out of the State Department of Agriculture and other, it was like, lanternflies, kill them. And now, you know what they're saying? Same people. Don't panic. If you want to stomp them, go ahead. A lot of good that does. Actually, Ryan's report says that one guy he interviewed said they are just the greatest summer entertainment for his 3-year-old daughter, who loves smashing the hell out of these lanternflies. So there are some things. There's something called a circle trap, yada, 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 yada. But the end result of all of this is they're here. They may spread further, but they're here, and we're just going to have to live with them. The last quote is, "We are way, way beyond being able to eradicate them." Well, that's why this whole thing of stomping on them, that's a one-on-one encounter with an insect. Stomp on them. Who told us to do that? Well, we know who told us. But how stupid was that advice? it's anyway, just wanted to say they're so pretty, and they're definitely a part of our lives now, definitely a part of our ecosystem, and I must say a very beautiful addition if you want to look at the positive. Another positive I had mentioned to you in the wake of the Marion newspaper story, the jackbooted fascist cops coming in and trying to close down a newspaper because they were being a newspaper. That there was an additional story that came out the next day about another very small town paper, this one in Wausau, Wisconsin, that was being driven out of business by a Republican state legislator who had a gripe and had some money. And so he sued them for slander. And they don't have any money. I mean, those little papers, they have 4 employees. Those little papers can barely pay their staff, and I'm sure their staff ain't living high on the hog. And the very idea that then it turned out that this is a kind of tactic now being used by the right to take out troublesome reporting. You take them to court, and you got enough money behind you that you're willing to spend it to get rid of these people who are making your life uncomfortable by telling the truth. And the paper's founder and editor had put out a plea saying that there is no way the paper can stay alive because they don't have the money to put out a paper and to pay lawyers to fight these suits, even though the suits they're bullshit. Bullshit. And there are laws that some states have that keep people from, forget what they're called, but they keep people from doing these kinds of harassing suits that have no merit but are intended to drive an entity out of business. And I just got an update. So the Wausau pilot started a GoFundMe, and with an assist from I believe it was the New York Times that did a story on what was happening to it and why. They're trying to raise enough money to pay the lawyers so that they can continue to, and they need, I guess their current bill is $150,000. And that's what they're trying to raise. And I just got an update that they've got 102,000. But the pace, I mean, initially they got a lot because of that New York Times piece, and now it is definitely slowed. Just pointing out to you that that's there on GoFundMe if you want to send them $1 or $2. Wouldn't be a bad idea. We have a caller. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
I was calling about that other thing you were talking about, the lantern, is whatever they are. I was going to, I don't even know if you said this. You might have said it because I wasn't listening. The whole thing about planting different flowers, that it gets rid of different things. Like, you know, I have like spearmint and mint, and I have, but the only problem with that is it tracks something else. Like I have this licorice mint. It smells like licorice and mint. and it attracts the bees. They love it because it gets these little flowers on it. I think maybe some of them might be honeybees. I don't know. That could be a problem. That's the only thing I was thinking about. If you planted something to get rid of those lanternflies, you probably get something you didn't like come. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, it's a little whack-a-mole-ish. But I like the idea of, a natural, if there are natural ways of discouraging certain invasive things from driving you nuts. Planting, as you say, certain plants. That's good.
Like,
that's
I know
marigolds.
Way. Snakes hate that marigold smell.
Mm.
So okay. I don't have those, but yeah, it gets into. But who knows what likes it? Maybe the skunk.
Who knows what likes it? Somebody likes those marigolds. I know. Here we have to coexist on this planet with all these other beings. And there's so many, I mean, my God, the number of insects in this world. And just by their pure multitudes. That's why I thought it was so funny that the initial advice was, if you see one, stomp on it. Like, what? One lanternfly is like, putting out one lanternfly is not going to do anything. We're talking about millions of them. And the people who immediately reach for something, a pesticide for poison are just the worst of the worst. Stop it.
Hey, people paint their lawns. I read that. They paint it with green paint. I don't know. It's probably a special product. I said, are you kidding me? But they
paint it with green paint for what? What is
your lawn? Paint your lawn because there's a drought season. You want it to be green.
Oh, okay. And you still want it to look green, so you paint it. Or you put AstroTurf. That's lovely. How about planting some wildflowers so that the ecosystem, the bees that you were talking about, have some fun. Honest to Pete. Okay.
That's all I got. See ya.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. I don't know. Beyond me. So there's this debate tonight. Are you aware of that? I had told myself I'm not listening. First of all, 9 o'clock is already getting too late for this old gal. I mean, 9, I'm starting to I'm starting to wind down. And the idea of watching all those awful humans prior to going to bed or trying to sleep is what I really meant. It just seems all sort of, non-productive, counterintuitive, bad idea. On the other hand, my still existent journalistic instincts and curiosity make me sort of kind of want to just, take a look. But I don't know. One of the things I've noticed, I've seen on Twitter, I refuse to call it what he who has destroyed it calls it. What I have noticed on Twitter, which I still look at nowhere near as much, is that a lot of national reporters and commentators, bloviators, people like that, who flock like lanternflies to an event such as this, the first presidential debate of the season, and it's in Milwaukee. And I have seen more than one complaint about how impossible it is to fly to Wisconsin. And I chuckled because I have to go to Wisconsin quite often. And it's true. There's no way to get there. I mean, there are so few direct flights into Wisconsin. Milwaukee is the largest city. There's no direct flight from, for instance, here to, well, there's not hardly any direct flight from here to anywhere anymore. But I mean, it's not like Milwaukee is a town of 40,000 people. It's the biggest city in the state. You can't easily get there. And so the complaints from reporters, literally some of them having to take three, not just find one connecting flight. You have to find two. Who's this guy who's coming out of Florida? It was his that I first saw. And he said that in order to get to Milwaukee today, he said, I had to go from Tampa to Atlanta to Minneapolis and then via canal boat and wagon train to Milwaukee. That is what it feels like. And it becomes, for instance, from here to Milwaukee, that should be what? It's about a 1 hour flight, not much more. Hour and a few minutes. And instead it becomes like a half a day ordeal. So to get to Milwaukee, Florida, to Georgia, to Minnesota, to Wisconsin. And somebody pointed out to one of these people, hey, guys, here's the way. And here's the way those of us who know often do it. You can always get a direct flight to Chicago. Rent a car. Get to Chicago, rent a car. Because Milwaukee is extraordinarily close to Chicago. It's not much, well, depending on Chicago traffic, good God. Anyway, I thought it was funny because I share their pain. And the other thing, of course, and this is, again, why aviation in America is such the cost of trying to fly to places that are not major cities is just unbelievable. I could go to Italy, France, Germany, and back twice, probably, for what it cost me to go from Pittsburgh to Green Bay, Wisconsin. I mean, Milwaukee's tough. I got news for you. Green Bay's impossible. So, another caller? Great. Hello?
It's David. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, David.
Great. Well, you know how the lanternflies got there is they hitchhiked. So people should just go to Milwaukee by jumping on a car or a truck. They just get a free ride. They get a free ride all the way up there.
That's right. Do it like the lanternflies do it. Yeah.
That's how they're getting around. They just take a little ride and move. They don't even have to fly. All they got to do is sit on your car, and if it's a pickup truck, they can sit in the cargo area. And,
have a nice.
Yeah, like King of the Hill, right on the throne there.
Well, I guess they're from China, right? Thank you, China. They're from China, and
that's right.
I suspect they first took a boat, probably, right?
Sure, the boats that carry the cargo, the cargo.
Yeah. And my understanding is the first lanternflies that were seen in this country were seen in this state, in Pennsylvania, in Bucks County. So they must have come in, I don't know.
They were unloaded.
Really? Yeah, they were unloaded, and they took the advice that so many of our ancestors took. They went west.
Yeah, go west, young bug.
That's right. Well,
but
they are. Yeah.
The actual best way of managing these animals is to like the gypsy moth. When the gypsy moth hit us pretty heavy, and we're eating the trees.
Yeah.
You were supposed to put a sticky substance around the trunk of the tree. Now, squirrels climbing up the tree might be affected, raccoons,
and other good insects that you don't want to kill. I just read that that's not what you should do for the lanternflies. Don't put sticky crap around trees because you're killing as many good guys as bad guys.
Oh, that's a good point.
And birds get stuck.
Well, the woodpeckers, woodpeckers go up trees. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So,
but that was the safe way that I had heard to do it was the double-sided tape. So that's not a good plan. That's not a good plan.
It is not a good plan. It is not good.
And stepping on them bursts their egg sac and releases hundreds of eggs. So stepping on them stepping on them is not. It can spread the eggs around.
Yeah, I don't like killing anything that makes no attempt to fight back. And lanternflies don't fight back, and they are not. They're not going to sting me. They're not going to bite me, so I itch like mosquito bite. I mean, all they are is beautiful. But then,
they really are.
They really are beautiful. I just want them to. I keep telling them when I see them, you think this place is good? Ohio. I'm telling you, Ohio.
That's right. Ship them down the road. That's right.
That's right.
All right.
Okay. Thanks for the call.
Yeah.
Appreciate
take care.
it. Okay. Bye. So I have said this before. I am just blown away by the fact that it is quite clear, given the warming of the planet, that the southern United States is going to be, as far as I'm concerned, unlivable. One of the reasons people say they got to get out of places like the North is they can't take the winters. Why, you're stuck in your house. You can't do it. You're like a prisoner. Well, hello. I'm just saying, if you go south to escape the winters, guess what? You are stuck in your house all summer, if not even more, by the heat. And guess what else? I think heat kills a lot more than cold. It's somehow easier to stay warm than it is to get cool. And why go south because you think it's so wonderful and still be stuck in your house with your air conditioning, which is exacerbating the problem of the climate warming? It makes no sense. And so I've just been blown away by the news that the South remains the place that most Americans are going to live. The snowbird types can't take the winter, are still buying properties or resettling there for their golden years. And I'm thinking, have you not ingested any of the news? And not just the news, but the prognostication of what the future holds? What idiot would especially buy property on the coasts, especially southern coasts. What'll get you first? The hurricanes, the water, the heat, or the pestilence that comes with it all? Or fascistic governments? I mean, why? You out of your frickin' mind? I mean, one of the things we've learned, unhappily, in the last decade or so, is how stubbornly stupid a lot of people are. If they don't like reality, they just don't deal with it. If you don't like the news, you call it fake. If you don't like what the scientists are trying to warn you about, you say, fake news. And let's move to Phoenix. I hear it's lovely. What is wrong with people? So, I saw a few things today while doing my morning reading. There's a sobering piece. This was in the New York Times called, "It is no longer possible to escape what we have done ourselves." So there's really nowhere to run. But there are places that if you run to, you're really exhibiting some bad decision making. So this is a guy who has a cabin in up in the Adirondacks, I guess. Or no, in Canada. Canada. He went through the Adirondacks. And he's talking about this place that had been a respite to him and his family for so long. How they got there and they were stuck inside because you weren't supposed to breathe the air, right? The wildfires. And that's happened to us a bit and will continue. So he writes, so you got the melting Arctic to the north, the immensity of Canada's northern wilderness, and the reality is what we've seen in Canada with the wildfires this year is just essentially a sneak peek of the future. And the thing is, it's not just smoke and it's not just Canada. This has been, this guy says, the summer from climate hell all across the globe. And then he quotes like these climatologists who are saying things like, even I'm surprised by this year. I mean, temperatures are rising at the rate we thought they would, but the effects are more severe, more frequent, more critical. It's crazy and getting crazier. The World Meteorological Organization has declared that the planet was hotter than it has ever been in July. Than it has ever been in recorded, pre-recorded, prehistoric, never July. And that we are now in uncharted territory. You know, the news increasingly, and I'm sure you cannot help but notice it, if you watch television news, network television news, it's almost all climate catastrophe. Flooding, fires, Well, I needn't tell you. And it's everywhere. So here's another climatologist saying, all of this around the world is all interconnected and it's all insidiously self-accelerating. The Arctic, I'm just giving you information here. And again, if you feel like I don't want to hear this, well, fine. Join the ranks of ostriches and people who put their hands over their ears and close their eyes and go, you can't see me and I can't hear you. Go ahead, see how well that works. The Arctic is warming 4 times faster than the rest of the world. I got news for you. That is really frightening. The Arctic is warming 4 times faster than the rest of the world. And that alters the air currents, the jet streams. And that, ladies and gentlemen, causes these bizarro front page news stories of unprecedented, never before seen calamities, catastrophes, and massive death. And so you don't have to be a climatologist to say, you know what, there's going to be more of it. More droughts, more floods, more extremes, more broken records. And then you start reading a little bit underneath, and it's a little frightening. And there are, here, I'll just read right here. And there will be consequences that we cannot yet imagine. If a forest burns too often, for example, trees cease being able to propagate and then eventually give way to grasses, which could lead to a fundamental change of ecosystems. And if you think that, like, again, I don't know. The reality is we are now where the scientists said we would be, but we're here faster. And as the scientists are now saying, and the consequences are even more dire than they thought. You would think that more people are waking up, right? And I think that's true. So will there be something that is a turning point? I don't know. I don't know. The Washington Post editorialized today this. Okay, in Phoenix. Yeah, hey, move. I wonder if the Phoenix Chamber of Commerce, like, what is their selling point now for moving to Phoenix? Or what are they telling people who live there who are starting to contemplate running? In Phoenix, the sidewalks are 180 degrees, which means that if a little kid, how many times when you were a kid did you skin your knee because you fell on a sidewalk? Well, in Phoenix, if you're a little kid and you fall on one of these sidewalks, you could easily get 3rd-degree burns. One man who fell and then couldn't get up had burns over 20% of his body. He required multiple surgeries and skin grafts. That, ladies and gentlemen, are the killer sidewalks of Phoenix, Arizona. The number of deaths, they really don't quite know. The medical examiner there says there are at least 300 suspected heat-related deaths just in that city, almost all of which were likely preventable. But not everybody in this country, where we have a few extraordinarily rich and then a whole bunch of, people managing, and then the poor. A lot of poor people, guess what? They don't have air conditioning, and guess where they live? They live down there. And the reality is, according to the Post, Phoenix is unprepared. It is unprepared for dangerously high and consistent heat, which is what its future is. And it isn't alone. So this country, let's just stay here, even though it's happening all over the globe. The country can expect that extreme heat, which, by the way, already kills more people than hurricanes, tornadoes, and floods together. Heat, one of the biggest killers, not the cold, all you snowbirds, not the cold. It's heat kills. Do you imagine that? Do you realize more than tornadoes, hurricanes, and floods combined? Now there are, a lot of people screaming that the government's supposed to do something about it. Well, any effort by any government, and those have all been Democratic governments, to address this have been stymied by what? Corporate lobbyists and Republicans. We're going to have to start seeing, think of how well we've dealt with the homeless situation. Well, that's about probably what we're going to be doing with this, because people will need cooling centers, huge cooling centers to sleep in when the temperatures don't go below 80 every night for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. You know what we need? We need trees. We need more trees. We need to plant trees. You know what I see in my neighborhood, and it makes me insane? All I see are people cutting down trees. I don't see a lot of people planting trees. Increasing green spaces, expanding parks, planting trees and shrubs could reduce temperatures. Could. By quite a bit if we got serious about it. Mandating different building codes, making sure roofs reflect the heat and don't pull it in. So I'm the editorial finishes thusly. Where is it? Where's the end? Here it is. But even the most specific, comprehensive, and innovative adaptation strategies will eventually be strained if temperatures continue to rise at the rate that they have been. Even as communities adjust, the imperative of transitioning off of fossil fuels will remain. And then you got Joe Manchin. And you got the Republicans, who've already said that if they get back into office totally, that they will eradicate the Environmental Protection Association administration and they will peel back all of the stuff, keeping the oil companies from having at us. Unbelievable. So where are the places that a smart person would move? I'm going to argue I think Pittsburgh would be one. We don't get hurricanes. We don't get many tornadoes. We're getting hotter, yes, but we still have 4 somewhat discernible seasons. We have lots of fresh water available. And I'm just saying, hey, Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce, you're listening to me? You got it easy. What if you were in Phoenix? And a lot of those northern cities like Detroit and Cleveland, cities in the Rust Belt that have been seeing huge losses in population because manufacturing jobs disappeared, but they're sitting on the Great Lakes and they're north enough to offer livable environmental conditions, but also affordable housing stock. And if people were capable of thinking, they'd be moving here before the stampede starts. Get your place while you still can. I'm telling you, Pittsburgh, PA. Barbara sent me something. Industrial agriculture and gargantuan plastic waste are obviously aggravating the climate catastrophe. But fabulously wealthy oligarchs and countries they own are addicted to all of these destructive activities. And so is the United States. We aren't an oligarchy quite yet. And likely will not abandon their lifestyle until it's too late. But there are things we could maybe do. Solar panels on every building in the world, massive investment in wind power, speed up the switch to electric vehicles, promoting sustainable organic peasant farming, replacing industrial pesticide-dependent agricultural farming. Yeah, and what are the odds of that? Bring back the family farm. Gigi writes, I cannot emphasize enough what a bad idea using double-sided tape is. Wildlife rehabbers are heartbroken over the birds being brought into them who have been stuck to tape. The publication Next Pittsburgh did a recent story advocating for using double-sided tape. Oh my God. So I thank you for doing responsible reporting and bringing attention to what a bad idea it is. It's a very bad idea. Very bad. Okay. I have I want to get into a subject, but I'm looking at the time and I'm not sure I'm going to have it enough. And it's a difficult subject, aren't they all? But it has to do with a little window on the world that has opened up for me, and it has to do with people who have been incarcerated in our prison system for most of their lives. And I have, in the last year or two, met some of these people. People who spent 45 years of their lives, 50 years of their lives in prison, put there because of a crime that they committed and or were adjacent to when they were teenagers. And the impact of the cruelty of what we do to people is something I need to talk about. Having recently been able to talk to them, listen to them, and see what amazing humans they are. And the penitentiaries in this country are filled with them. And they pose no danger. They went in as a 17-year-old, which is essentially an idiot, right? That's how they got there. And maybe they get out and they're in their 60s, even 70s. I want to talk a little bit about them. And I don't think I have time today. So I understand I do have a call. Let's get to the caller. And go ahead, please. Oh, he dropped. Okay. Here's a quote. This is from a guy, a scientist, of course. We don't listen to no scientists. 20 years from now, a summer like this is going to feel like a mild summer. You know that's true. You know that's true. It's amazing. Let me, because I mentioned prisons. I'm not going to get into it. Right. Let me take you to the horror hell on earth place known as Texas. They imprison people left, right, and center. And the vast majority of the cells that they put those people in have no air conditioning. Stop and think. If it's 100+ degrees outside, what an unair conditioned cell that gets no air circulation would be. And I thought we outlawed cruel and unusual punishment. I thought that was like part of our Constitution. Huh? In Texas alone, at least 9 prisoners have died in recent weeks. I think it's higher. They're saying it's unknown causes, but the odds are they're dying of heat because it's a killer. The temperatures in these prisons goes up to 110, and that does not sustain life. Also, want another expense that's going to be coming our way? When we don't really like dealing with public schools anymore, we defund them. Schools are going to have to be air conditioned. Or we're going to have to rethink when kids go to school. Now, I know I have a friend whose grandson, this was to be his first day of school in Chicago, and it's been called off because it's outrageously hot there today, and his school has not been air conditioned. And that school has been there for a long, long time, and generations have gone to that school, no problem. But there's a new reality. So you imagine the cost of air conditioning the schools in this country. If you're starting school in August, I hate to tell you, you're going to have air conditioning. And what is this stuff about starting school in August? Why is that? I know back in the day, we didn't start school till September sometime. Hey, another little thing I'm doing, just trying to avoid the subjects I'm really dying to talk about, is sorry, just trying to read something somebody sent me. Okay. Back to the debate. I don't know where I read it, but somewhere I read, I think actually it was in the Atlantic. And the point of this person's diatribe was that no candidate, either someone trying for the Republican nomination for president, or let's say Joe Biden, if Trump is the nominee, no candidate should have to walk on stage and smile and shake the hand of Donald Trump and act like it's normal. This guy pointed out, can you imagine? So Trump's not going to be at the debate. Can you imagine, though, Mike Pence having to shake his hand and smile at the guy who instigated the mob that built a gallows and was saying, hang Mike Pence? He's supposed to shake hands and then debate? Let's get real. And he says it is beneath the dignity of President Biden or any president of the United States to stand next to Trump and have to, engage in some farce, have to pretend that they are there up against just another political contender instead of a man that has generated a man who is a violent seditionist. Can you imagine? To stop and think about that. If Trump is the nominee, you think that he and Biden should have to go through that thing? Not he. I don't give a shit about him. This guy goes on to say America knows both of these men and knows what they stand for. The real question is whether... I disagree with that. I disagree with that, so I ain't going to repeat it. But stop and think about it. Because Trump never goes on a debate stage and follows the rules of the debate. He does what he does. He flouts the rules. He interrupts. He lies. Remember with Hillary, literally, physically, menacingly stalked her during the debate. When he debated Biden, he would not let Biden get two words out of his mouth, interrupting all the time, wouldn't listen to moderators. Why would you? Why is any are we served by allowing him to make such a spectacle? Because making spectacles is what he does. And the answer, of course, is no. But I have not thought about that God forbid that he is the nominee. By the way, I'm hoping he is, because I'm still worried that the Republicans could come up with somebody who could beat Joe Biden. Because again, Americans are not paying attention. And I truly believe that Trump will lose. Big. So he's the weakest possible candidate, and we want him. Anyway, just saying. I see my time's up. Okay. That's it. I'll see you tomorrow, and I don't know. Don't go south. Tell all your friends that have, it's not too late to wise up and come on home.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.